The big news of the day, the CFTC charges Binance and its founder CZ with the willful evasion of federal law and operating an illegal digital asset derivatives exchange. The U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, has filed a complaint in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. This complaint states that Binance has solicited and accepted orders, accepted property to margin, and operated a facility for the trading of futures, options, swaps, and leverage retail commodity transactions involving digital assets that are commodities for persons in the U.S., despite not being registered with the CFTC. If you go into the CFTC's complaint against Binance and you search for the word terror, you'll see that very often it comes up. If you just go through this, you can see that the word continues to pop up all over this document. So it seems like they're going after Binance also for facilitating transactions with terrorist organizations, terrorist financing, and other criminal activities. So this complaint has a lot of different layers to it. And less than an hour ago now, we got a response from CZ from the CFTC's charge. And what he's saying is that Binance claims to have developed the best-in-class technology to ensure compliance, and it has the highest number of licenses, registrations globally. Binance is saying that their exchange does not trade for profit or manipulating the market and has strict policies for its employees to prevent insider trading. Binance claims to be committed to transparency and cooperation with regulators and law enforcement in the US and globally. And that's a quick summary of what CZ has just said in response. He just put out this tweet not too long ago. And what we had for Bitcoin today, looking at the Bitcoin daily chart, the reaction to the news was about a $1,000 drop in price. Go to the hourly chart, you can see a bit of a drop in price, a slightly lower low than our previous low was printed. And the price action is interesting because I made a post on Twitter talking about Bitcoin's diamond pattern. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, definitely follow me on Twitter. You can get more frequent updates from me here. And what we were discussing on Twitter yesterday is that Bitcoin had printed a diamond pattern on the 4-hour chart. If you go over to the diamond chart pattern diagram, you can see that essentially when you have a breakout of the previous high of the diamond, that lower high right there, that is actually a long trigger. And if you get a breakdown below the previous low, that is a short trigger. And technically, diamond chart patterns are more likely to break down than break out, but of course, both are possible. And what I posted yesterday was this, showing the target for the actual trade setup. And now what we're seeing for Bitcoin, based on today's news, is that we have gotten a breakdown of this diamond pattern. So in theory, the target of this breakdown is sitting somewhere around 25,250, or if you take it from the previous low, something more like 25,000 exactly. So somewhere right in that range, 25,000 to 25,250 would be the downside target before finding the next zone of support. And also, if you look at it from the other perspective, the bullish perspective, 30,500 and 30,700 would be the upside target, but we have in fact broken to the downside. And that is how you get the actual setup, the trade setup for the diamond chart pattern. And so this does mean that Bitcoin may be looking for further downside before finding support based on how the textbook suggests this pattern usually plays out. Now, of course, people are probably going to be asking me how I feel about all this news and this price action. One thing that I'm keeping in mind is the 200-week SMA. If you look at the 200-week SMA, it's coming in around 25,550 currently. And 25,550 is somewhat close to the target of the diamond pattern breakdown. 25,550 would be, just slightly above the target of the diamond pattern breakdown target. So it's really similar. And for me, if we're looking at this from a macro perspective, the macros, all of your higher timeframes, the weekly, the daily, these all look bullish to me. We have higher lows, we have higher highs, we're above the 200 week. As of right now, this is still a really nice uptrend. In the past videos on this channel, we were discussing heavily the parabolic curve pattern, the parabolic diagram, and we were talking about how Bitcoin is technically sitting at the creation of base 3 on this parabolic diagram. If you were to compare it directly, we have base 1 right here, base 2 right here, and this would be base 3, where Bitcoin is now. So even if we come down to 25,200, if we hold that, it's the diamond pattern breakdown target zone, it's the previous resistance zone, and it would also just be a higher low in the midst of what looks like a parabola. So that means that Bitcoin could, in theory, trade sideways into May. It could be going sideways for the entire month of April, in theory, right? In theory, if we were just going to look for more support here before going up, it could be like end of April going into May that we actually get a move. So, things might just take time. But if you ask me, if you look at the parabolic diagram chart and then you look at Bitcoin, I mean, it looks pretty good until we actually start losing that previous high. If Bitcoin was to come down and bounce, I mean, we're all good there, right? Go sideways, bounce, all good. But if Bitcoin comes down to this level, 25,300, the previous top, and ends up getting a breakdown, that opens us up for a decrease in momentum, right? So we definitely don't want to be closing weeklies below that line or below the parabolic trend line. That's when things get bad. But until then, I mean, Bitcoin can do whatever it wants as long as it holds previous resistance as new support. Bitcoin just needs to continue this sort of step formation, and then it will remain within a parabola. So that's how I see it right now. I mean, we'll see what this news brings, how much of an effect this is really going to have on the market. I'm sure the market is still digesting this information and this news. So we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. But just to recap, for Bitcoin, the short term is suggesting that we could have some downside moves. But if you look at the higher timeframes, our higher timeframes all seem really bullish, right? Seems pretty good structure here for now, and we are still in a parabola. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button and subscribe to this channel if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next video.